everybody. So we are very, very excited to be here today. We're having our third episode of Animated News, and we meet to talk about the various news items of the day that deal with whether it's television or the feature films. And we're talking about the world of animation. And today I am Rachel, and today I have one guest to talk about these stories with me, and Jonathan North is here, and thanks so much, Jonathan, for coming on and talking about these things.
Yeah, glad to be back. This is really fun. I love talking about all this
Yeah,
animation news.
it really is a lot of fun, and to speculate and talk about what's going on in our lovely world of animation. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about. Comic-Con happened, and in the last week and a half, 2 weeks since we last met, and some other fun stories. So let's dive in. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the box office. We have a number of animated films in the at the box office right now, and the first thing is we have Incredibles 2, which now which crossed the $1 billion mark, which it ended it faster than any animated film in history. It's pretty amazing. It's interesting to me because, people kind of complain about, Pixar lost its mojo, whatever, and yet their sequels have done incredibly well. And I mean, not that Coco didn't do well; it did fine, but didn't do as well as this. Incredibles 2 or Finding Dory. So what do you think about the success of Incredibles 2?
I guess I'm not really surprised because this is something that people have been like begging for years. Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember after the first one came out, everybody wanted a second one, and then like over a decade passed, and people all through the years were saying, well, this is fine, we're getting a sequel to Toy Story, it's fine, we're getting a sequel to Cars, but what we really want is Incredibles. And I think the fact that it took so long and the fact that so many people wanted it really
Mm-hmm.
contributed to the fact that it's now the fastest animated film to hit the $1 billion mark.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that people were maybe not, some of them were not fine with having two Cars sequels, but
That's true.
but
A lot of people were it's very popular with the younger kids, but
yeah,
like for the older audience is the one that really wanted the Incredibles, and
right.
that's who's buying the tickets. So
Well, and in fairness, they have made really good movies. I mean, Finding Dory, I
Mhm.
think, was a really good movie, and I think Incredibles 2 was a really good movie. So, that helps a
even
lot as well.
Pixar's even Pixar's duds. I say that in air quotes.
Right.
I don't think they're duds because to me, I'm not a huge Cars fan, but even Cars, I can sit down and watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's like they have just such a good way of telling stories that so far some people can quibble on this, but I don't think they've made a bad film yet.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with you. I mean, they have some films with problems, but
Yeah,
none that are painful to sit through.
yeah, exactly. Yes.
Agreed. All right. So we also have at the box office, we have Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation, that the total domestic gross is 119 million, and the total worldwide is $292 million. This is actually a little higher than the 20-day total of Hotel Transylvania 2, which was $123 million at this same time. So it looks like, because I wondered if it was a mistake for them to leave their September spot that had been so good to them, but it appears that it wasn't. So there you go.
I think this is kind of one of those. I don't know if this exactly fits the definition of a sleeper hit, but
Uh-huh.
it's like it's not one that gets a lot of press like The Incredibles or Toy Story. It's not one of those huge name franchises, but it seems to be very popular nonetheless. And
Yeah.
like it has a good reason because it may not be as masterfully crafted as the Pixar films, but it is really good in its own way, and I can appreciate its total commitment to being a cartoon, and I think a lot of people really like it for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it has its own style, and it was overall an entertaining film. I actually ended up seeing it twice, and I I enjoyed it. It's uh, like I said, the major problem with it was the villain was completely unnecessary. You didn't need to have him. You could have the whole story just about Drac, trying to start dating again, and them all going on this cruise. That's all. You did not need to have that villain. But I still, like I said, I saw it twice, and I left with a smile on my face. So
Hmm.
I agree with you. The last one we're going to talk about is we have Teen Titans Go to the Movies that opened this last weekend with $10 million. And a lot of people were saying, oh, this was way underperforming, but it's less than I think they were hoping for, but they only had a $10 million budget.
Hmm.
So that it's,
I
yeah,
I think this one is another one that has the potential to just kind of sit there and make money. I don't think it's going to be like a massive box office success,
right.
but it's definitely not a bad movie, and people are realizing that. I think part of the reason it's underperformed is because for some reason online the show is kind of hated, and I have
Yeah,
never been able to figure that out because I haven't seen a whole lot of episodes, but I think it's funny. So I think that the fact that people online have kind of made it a meme to hate Teen Titans Go
right. Yeah,
contributed to its poor performance. But once the reviews started coming in, people thought, well, maybe we've misjudged this. And I think that that fact will help it to get more money in the coming weeks. I don't think it's going to like have a massive drop off. I think it'll slowly get them more money. I don't think it's not going to be like a massive success, but the fact that it was a low budget film to begin with is going to really help it in the long run.
yeah, I think so too, and I think it'll do well on DVD and things like that. And I don't know. It's hard because I think maybe they didn't expect Incredibles 2 to have such legs. That so you have two animated superhero movies in theaters at the same time. Maybe hurts it a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it was a really cheap movie to make, and so it was way better than I thought it was going to be.
Hmm.
I've never seen the show, so I had no. I wasn't expecting it to be bad, but I didn't love the trailers. I was not a big fan of the trailers, so that maybe also other people might have that experience too, where they didn't like the trailers, and so they don't give a shot, but then they hear the good things. So I agree with you, and they've made right now $16 million total, and so but the budget was only 10 million, and so they're already they just have to get to the 20 million point to be profitable, and which they'll have no problem. So
I'm
yeah,
hoping that this can signal to other companies that you can make an animated movie on a smaller budget. Teen Titans Go was really good. They did it on a small budget with the main crew that was working on the TV show, and the they did it, as far as I have heard, they did it concurrently with the TV show. They were doing both the movie and the TV show at the same time,
yeah.
and they managed to do both and make it really good.
Hmm.
And I'm hoping that other studios will see this and realize, hey, maybe we can give these other smaller projects a shot instead of waiting until they find one that's going to be a massive blockbuster success.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I would love for studios like Disney to invest in these smaller animated projects. And that's what I always hoped that we could get with Disney Toons,
Mm-hmm.
but never really materialized. But yeah, I mean, there's so many great things that you can do with a under $20 million budget, and it would be great if some of the other studios tried to do that. I mean, I loved this year the little film Sergeant Stubby. It was so sweet and so well animated and just a really good movie. And if something like that had the backing of Disney, I mean, I can't even imagine and what it could, what it could have done. But anyway, so that would be really cool. Story we have series from Matt Groening that is going to be on Netflix called Disenchantment. And what did you think about this trailer for Disenchantment?
I thought it looked like it could be funny. Um, I guess I don't have as much excitement as other people because I've never really watched much of The Simpsons and I've never seen any Futurama.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not as familiar with the artist. Um, but the humor seemed creative and it could be funny. It's probably not going to be high on my list of must watch just because I'm not as familiar with Matt Groening. But
Uh-huh.
I think for fans of his work, it's probably going to be something that they're going to be really excited for.
Mm. I love The Simpsons, and I'm surprised you don't like Futurama. It seems totally up your
I've never seen
alley.
Futurama.
Yeah.
It's one that I've wanted to see, but it's a massive time commitment, and I've got so
Yeah.
many shows that I'm watching, so I haven't even bothered to start it.
Yeah. It does seem like something you would love to
I
me.
probably will when
Yeah.
I eventually get around to
Yeah.
it.
It's really good. But yeah, this looks really fun. It's there's a medieval fantasy world called Dreamland, and it says a king lifts the hood off of a no good pile of scum prisoner, only to discover that it's his own daughter, Bean. And so Bean is described as hard drinking princess, and the show will follow her and her two companions, an elf named Elfo and a demon named Lucy. And I think this looks very different than anything that Matt Groening has done, so that's kind of exciting and intriguing to see because we haven't had anything new from him for a long time. This is going to be 20 episodes, and it is going to be starting on August 17th, so it's coming up really soon. So I'm definitely very curious what it will be like, and hopefully it definitely has Matt Groening's signature style in his character designs and different things, and so I hope it'll be funny. I think that Netflix has been hit and miss with their properties, particularly with comedies that they've released, but I haven't really seen a ton of their animated shows, but so yeah, well, hopefully this will be good. Well, it'll be interesting to see. Then we have big news: was the Disney Fox merger has been approved by the Fox shareholders. So this was a big step in what is going to be probably still a year-long process before it goes through all of the government approvals, worldwide government approvals, all of that fun stuff. Like this is not this is not set in stone, but the shareholders for both the companies have committed to going through with this, and it's definitely a big step closer. How do you feel about this? Are you nervous about it, or are you excited?
I I don't exactly know how I should feel yet. I'm not like upset like a lot of people online are. A lot
Uh-huh.
of people are saying that this is a monopoly, they're taking over everything, but it's not really a monopoly.
Right.
The monopoly would mean they control everything, and they definitely do not control everything. And just because they control a large part of it doesn't mean that the other studios don't have a say, and there's no saying that somebody can't start another studio to rival them.
Right.
So I don't think this is like a death knell on creativity like so many people on Twitter are saying. That being said, I don't really know exactly what they're wanting to do with this. I could, like, the main reason that I know that they're wanting this is because they'll have more stuff to put on their eventual streaming service. But I don't know if that's the only reason that they're doing this. Like, are they planning to use the Fox name still? Are they going to make movies under the Fox name now?
Yeah. I I
Yeah,
think
I don't know.
I think they will. In fact, I think that for the most part, we'll see minimal differences. Like I think things will just, keep on going like they're going, and they'll trim the fat, of course, and combine things. And there are going to be layoffs and different things like that, which is unfortunate for the people that will be laid off, but because you're going to have duplicate resources and different things like that. But for the most part, as far as movies, aside from characters that they can use and different things like that, I think that we really won't see a ton of difference between. I think you're still going to have Fox releases. You're still going to have Deadpool. People can stop worrying about that. It's not going to be I guess maybe they might use Deadpool in the MCU and water him down a little bit, but there's still going to be the Deadpool movies that people know and
Mm-hmm.
love. Because, it just would be nonsensical of Disney to spend $71 billion, which is a lot of money, to buy Fox, and then to deplete it of all its value. That would be stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not worried about the Marvel characters like again, people on Twitter worrying about the Marvel characters. Like I think this can only be a good thing because the series that Fox has been doing, the X-Men series, as far as I know, it's coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Like the next movie, isn't it going to be the last one? Maybe I'm wrong, but once that ends, I think that Disney, the MCU, is going to use those characters really well, and I'm not worried about them at
Yeah,
all.
agreed.
And I'm not like a massive Deadpool fan, but I'm not worried about him either because that's like one of the biggest properties that Fox had for now.
Right.
And I don't think that Disney is going to touch them. I don't think they're going to brand his movies as Disney movies because they're
No.
they're very non-Disney. But I don't think that they're going to shut it down like some
Right.
people are afraid of
Agreed.
because it's massively popular.
Yeah. What's interesting is that now Disney will own Blue Sky as animation. Uh, fans. Disney will own Blue Sky, and that's going to be interesting. Because I think personally, Blue Sky has put out very for them, except for the Ice Age films and maybe Rio 2. They've put out very ambitious films, and they've sometimes been messy. They haven't been perfect, but I've always really admired that about them, and they've been, I think, a bit of an underrated studio, I would say. And
Mm-hmm.
so, it's going to be interesting because now Disney will, speaking of Matt Groening, Disney will own The Simpsons, which is interesting, and they'll own, all the Fox animation, and they'll own the Peanuts, and they'll own, Blue Sky. So it could be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, the Blue Sky thing is the only thing that I'm not going to say I'm worried, but I'm like mildly apprehensive about how they're going to handle Blue Sky
Yeah.
because like I don't think they'll shut Blue Sky down. I really hope that they won't because I think Blue Sky has the potential to be even greater than they are with Disney's money behind them.
Right.
Like if they
Yeah.
can be given projects that Disney's not going to use for their main studios, I think Blue Sky could really flourish with the right backing, and I'm really hoping that's what's going to happen. Some people were saying that they think it's going to be shut down, and I'm hoping that that's not the case, because I mean, I don't want to see another animation studio go under after Disney Toons.
Right.
Disney Toon Studio has gone down, and I'm hoping that they'll use this for some smaller projects.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Agreed. All right. So we have next story is Genndy Tartakovsky, director of Hotel Transylvania 3 and many other films. He is going to be directing 2 films for Sony Pictures Animation. One is called Fixed. It's an R-rated comedy. And then the other is Black Knight, which is an adventure film. And yeah, so that will be very interesting. Genndy says, I'm very excited to start this next adventure with my Sony family. With their trust and support, we are going to do something unique and different and push animation to the next level. So, what do you think about these announced projects?
I'll wait and see.
Yeah.
I, I, it seems so weird that he's going to be doing an R-rated comedy,
Uh-huh.
but I mean, I'm not usually a big fan of R-rated comedies. Like, if I've seen one, it's like, well, I've seen that, and I'm probably never going to watch it again.
Uh-huh.
I've never seen an R-rated comedy that I thought was actually that great. But it's like, it's an animated movie by Genndy Tartakovsky, so I'm hopeful. But like, if
Uh-huh.
it's going to be just like, why is it a comedy? Is it because it's going to be raunchy? Is that why it's going to be rated R? If
Yeah.
that's the case, then I'm probably not going to be that big of a fan of it. So that's why I say I'll wait and see, because it's him. So I'm expecting it to be at least technically good. But like an R-rated comedy, it it makes me think that I probably won't like it very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we should say that Sony has announced projects with Genndy before, and those haven't come to pass. So, I guess take this with a grain of salt. I'm open to R-rated comedies, but yeah, I mean, it's not like if it's not, I'm not like excited, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I never watched Sausage Party because it just didn't look good to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked to me like it was shock value for shock value.
Yeah, I
Say,
didn't watch it either. It looked like it was just R-rated for the sake of being R-rated.
yeah,
It's like it didn't need to be made. It was like he had this weird idea and he wanted to make it as raunchy as possible. And it's like,
yeah.
I don't find a whole lot of entertainment value in that, so I didn't even bother watching it.
Especially when I heard that it was like that it was a kind of anti-religion. I'm like, I don't have time for that nonsense. So we will see what happens. All right, next we have the movie Animal Crackers opened in China. Opened fourth in China, and it hasn't opened here in the U.S. The creators of that movie have had such a terrible time of it, which I feel really bad for them because it's so hard to have an animated film, to make an animated film, and to have the sort of main problem of your movie, to go through all of that and how all those struggles, and to have it not get a distributor. Oh, that's very frustrating. And I feel bad too because I'm excited to see it. I thought that the trailer was kind of fun and interesting, and a lot of people don't give these kind of CG, this sort of level of CG animation much of a shot, and so maybe that's why they struggle. But it would be really nice for a Lionsgate or some company like that to give it at least a small release of, I don't know, 100 theaters or something like that. I don't know. They've worked so hard. It would be a shame for it to not get a US release.
Is there a reason that some place like Netflix can't pick it up? Or
Um,
are they really wanting it to be a theatrical run?
I'm sure that they want it to be a theatrical run. I'm not. I don't know about I don't know about Netflix or what they've tried to do. But I know that they have been trying to get this released since last year, and maybe it's a real bomb, maybe it's terrible. But I mean, if Norm of the North can get a theatrical release,
That's what I was
it
thinking.
seems
Like,
like this
there have
should
been
be
some really
able.
awful movies that have hit theaters. This one doesn't look like it's anywhere close to something like Norm of the North.
Yeah, agreed.
At the very worst, it looks semi decent. So I feel like somebody should have no trouble giving it a small run. I don't know. I don't really know the whole backstory behind it. Like, I don't know why that's having so much trouble.
Yeah. It's a shame. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. We had a trailer for a new series called Marvel Rising in Initiation, and I didn't know what to expect when I watched this trailer, and this was really fun. It's a female superhero show, and it has Spider Gwen as the lead character, and there's Squirrel Girl and a bunch of other characters. And this is going to be on Disney XD. And I was really pretty excited about this, and I I'm looking forward to it. What did you think?
Yeah, I don't really know much about any of these characters. Like, I was never the biggest Marvel fan before the Marvel movies started happening.
Uh huh.
I liked Spider-Man and I liked the X-Men, but that's because I watched Spider-Man cartoons as a kid and the X-Men movies, like when they started coming out when I was a teenager. So I really didn't know anything about these characters, but I've liked the idea of Spider Gwen.
Uh huh.
I've heard of her. I knew that she had a comic book series. It's like an alternate universe where Gwen Stacy got the spider powers instead of Peter Parker. So I really liked that idea, but I never read the comic books, and she wasn't really somebody who was being optioned for a movie.
Right.
So I'm excited to see her in this show, and I'm also excited to see all these other characters that I don't really know anything about. I think it'll be interesting to see a female majority superhero team on the Disney channels. They've had the Avengers series and Guardians of the Galaxy,
Right.
and I've tried to watch those, but I found them a bit boring compared to the
Mm-hmm.
movies, so I didn't keep watching. But this one looks different. It has a different energy, a different tone. It
Yeah.
seems like it has a lot of good humor to it, and I'm excited
Yeah.
to see where it goes. I really liked the look of the trailer, and I
Yeah.
like the look of these heroes, so I'm
Me
excited to
too.
learn more about them.
Me too. It did. It looked really fun. I've really enjoyed the DC Superhero Girls show. That's a little bit younger than these characters, but I think that's really well done. And I don't know, this just looked like it could have some of that same thing. Yeah. So next we have Nickelodeon is developing the animated series Meet the Voxels. This is going to have VR and AR experiences a part of it. So it's going to be a video game world. Meet the Voxels will follow a family of video game characters. The Yeah, so they have 13-year-old star of a laser. So the Voxels are Hunter, 13-year-old star of a laser video game, Maud, 16-year-old girl fighting to pop as many bubbles as she can. Their younger brother, Cody, who has not found his video game calling yet. Mom, a popular street fighter in her game. And dad, a 1990s era classic console game character who quit the business years ago. And so this is interesting. What do you think about this?
I like the idea. It sounds kind of like a modernized family sitcom version of Wreck-It Ralph, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's an interesting idea. I don't know how I feel about the VR and AR components, um, but as far as the show, I'll definitely check out the show. And unless the VR and AR stuff is like essential viewing, I probably won't bother with it. I feel like
Yeah.
that's probably, it seems like a gimmick to me to
Yeah.
have to use your virtual reality glasses for the VR stuff and your phone for the augmented reality stuff. So I
Right.
probably won't bother with them unless there's something like really spectacular that I hear about. You just got to see this. I'll check out the show for sure, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't sound like something I would be interested in, but I guess you never know. It does sound creative, just not, I'm just not a video, I'm not a gamer. So, at all. And I don't even really love Wreck-It Ralph. So, it doesn't sound like my cup of tea, but it does sound very creative. So we will see what they do with that. All right. Then we have the WB hires a Lego Batman writer for a Super Pets project. Stern is the writer behind Lego Batman. And the movie will follow the tail wagging adventures of DC heroes' animal pets. So feature film, and I don't know. I feel like pets is too far. I don't know. I guess you never know with because you got Legos, you got but it just seems like we got superhero pets. I don't
If they were trying to make this a serious film, I think it would bomb hard. But because the writer of Lego Batman is behind it, and
know.
because the Lego Batman did so well, and now with Teen Titans Go, I really like the idea of making really ridiculous films set in the DC universe, because the DC universe, it does have some ridiculous stuff in its history. Like the super pets are not a new thing. Like
Mhm.
they were around in the 70s and they were ridiculous back then too.
Mhm.
Like there's Crypto the Super Dog, which is Superman's dog. I think Supergirl had a horse. I don't
Oh.
remember its name. Batman had a bat dog. There was a monkey in there. There's a bunch of animals that have been around in the comics for years, but I love the idea of using them in something ridiculous. And Lego Batman did such a good job of taking something ridiculous and making, like, I thought it was really, really well done.
Uh-huh.
And then Teen Titans Go made a ridiculous superhero parody. And I think that this, if it's done right, and I think it will be with the writer of Lego Batman behind it, it could be another hit.
Yeah, it could be, but I don't know. I'm skeptical about super pets. But we'll see.
We'll wait and see what the trailer looks like
Yeah,
when they
yeah, yeah.
finally release a trailer, because that'll
Agreed.
be a good judge of whether it'll be something worth watching or not. I
Yeah,
think it has potential.
yeah. I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, Warner. So Warner Brothers was going to release the film Mowgli into the theaters this fall, but they decided to sell it to Netflix for $50 million, and this is very surprising to me. And it is, like I said, loosely animated because it's got all these CG characters, but you have to believe that they felt like this movie was a clunker, because if they felt like it was if they felt like it was going to make any money, they would not have. Because I mean, I don't know the budget for Mowgli, but it's got to be like $120 million at least. And so for them to sell it to Netflix for $50 million, I mean, they must have not had faith in it at all.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It seemed like, I mean, it has Andy Serkis behind it, so I'm sure that the movie is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the fact that Disney released their own version of the Jungle Book probably has the studio a bit worried about how well another one in just a couple years later is going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the biggest reason behind its being sold off to Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, they I don't know. I just, if they thought it was a good movie, I I feel like they would have put it, I mean, because it has this great cast: Benedict Cumberbatch, Christian Bale, Kate Blanchett, and I don't know. I mean, I guess you do have movies like Annihilation and The Little Prince, which a lot of people liked. I did not like really either very much. So, I'm in the minority on that. So there are some praised films that do get sold to Netflix for various reasons and don't get theatrical release. But I don't know. I just have a feeling this movie is not great. And but who knows? We'll see it. And but yeah, that's certainly the Disney element did play a role for sure. They probably should have just dropped it once they saw how big of a movie it was for Disney. And I don't know. I think they probably should have dropped the project completely at that point as a business decision. It always seemed strange to me that they continued on. So interesting for Warner Brothers. The story that we have is director Brenda Chapman and Kevin Lima have signed a first look deal with Fox. So this could be interesting. They are going to produce a live action hybrid in animated films through, I guess they have a production company together, these two directors, and they said, for years we have worked parallel paths creating films we're each extremely proud of. The duo said, now by combining our talents in Twas Entertainment, we're stepping into a new and thrilling phase of our careers and are looking forward to gathering old and new collaborators who share our goal: family films with big heart, infectious humor, and genuine intelligence. So this is interesting. This says they have a Fox Family project, The Cartoon Touch, which Chapman and Lima co-wrote. That we don't know any plot deals or anything on that. Lima is, I guess, he directed Enchanted. And so what do you think about this?
I am going to wait and see what happens because I liked the only film that I've seen from Brent Chapman is Brave.
Uh-huh.
And I liked Brave, but I definitely think it's one of Pixar's weakest. However, I think that may be it due in part to the troubled production history.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of that is her fault, because I know that she was the director and then they replaced her with someone else and took over what was essentially her film. So I don't know if somebody made a bad call or if Brave was heading in an even worse direction than where it turned out. Not that Brave is a bad film. I don't think it is. I do acknowledge that it is one of Pixar's weaker films. And then you also have the issue of Fox is now being sold to Disney. So Brenda Chapman's going to end up back at Disney, which she left. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. I'm wondering what's going to happen with the merger and everything.
Yeah, that will be very very interesting to see what happens. I'm very curious in it, and it sounds like this collaboration could be very very effective. So
it'll be interesting to get a live action animation hybrid. We don't get very many of those.
Yeah,
I mean, like traditional animation, like a cartoon with a live action character, not like The Jungle Book or something, like Disney's live action with live action in very big air quotes.
right.
They're definitely animated films, but people call them live action.
Right.
From the sounds of it, this is going to be something more along the lines of like Enchanted or Who Framed Roger Rabbit or Mary Poppins. Yeah, something where there's a cartoon in real life or real life in a cartoon. Yeah. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah. So another story that we have to talk about is we got a trailer for a new series on Cartoon Network called Infinity Train. And this is based on a short that the animator did that was very popular, and they're expanding it to a full series. And so, what did you think about this short?
Yeah, I've been following Infinity Train since the very beginning. Like when I saw the first short, I was like, this needs to be a series. It was so creative and unique, and just it's so different than everything else that Cartoon Network has. Like it has like vibes that are similar, like there's a definite mystery going on. So it feels sort of like Adventure Time, but totally different than Adventure Time at the same time.
Yeah.
It's basically this girl is lost on a train that seems to be infinite. So she's going from car to car, and every car is something totally different. And she's trying to figure out where she is and why she's there. And it's such a mysterious and intriguing premise that I've been wanting them to make something out of that short ever since I first saw it. I was so glad to hear it got picked up. And now that I've seen the trailer, I'm even more excited because the trailer just looks so good. The art style had changed a little bit, but the characters basically look mostly the same. But the
Yeah.
thing that stood out to me was the painted backgrounds.
Yeah.
Like the backgrounds look like paintings, and then the music was like really ominous and haunting and so good. Somebody pointed out that the music sounded sort of like the music in Annihilation, which I was not a huge fan of Annihilation, but the music was very effective in that movie. Like it was
Mm.
so creepy, and it just once they said that, I was like, yeah, it definitely has an Annihilation vibe, and I really liked that about it. Because like even though I didn't care a whole lot for the movie Annihilation, the music was
Uh-huh.
one of the best things about it.
Yeah.
Just it just has this feeling about it. It's so effective, and I'm really excited to see where this goes. The
Yeah.
trailer looks great, and I'm really excited for the show.
Yeah, me too. It kind of, I don't think it'll be quite the same as Over the Garden Wall, but it kind of has that sense of sort of creativity and ambition and artistry behind it,
Yeah,
I think. So that
yeah.
that makes me very excited because Over the Garden Wall is my favorite thing, one of my favorite things, movies or TV to exist. I
Yeah,
love Over the Garden
it's
Wall.
so good.
So great. So hopefully it's that kind of creativity that we like to see. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Then we had a trailer for the series Dragon Prince. This is Netflix series. This is by the head writer of Avatar: The Last Airbender. That this was actually created for Netflix. It wasn't something purchased by them, and that we talked about this series before, but Netflix had success with Voltron, has had success, and the Troll Hunters has been successful, and I've seen the first seasons of both of those. Uh, I haven't kept up on them just because I've ran out of time. This is supposedly a high fantasy premise set in a world of warring kingdoms, and it's about two princes, Callum and Ezron, who find themselves on a journey together to bring peace to their lands, and they are united by unlikely figure Ryla and an elven assassin who has tasked with killing the princes to keep the lands in perpetual war. So this is just not my cup of tea as far as like just a premise. I'm just not into this kind of like fantasy. It's just not my favorite, but for what it is, it sounds decent, and the trailer was decent. I thought for people who like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I actually have never seen Avatar. It's one of my top must-watch shows. Like as soon as I
Yeah.
get a chance, I'm going to be watching Avatar because so many people have recommended it to me. So I've been looking forward to this show based on that alone because the people who have told me I'm going to like Avatar know my tastes pretty well, and I trust that they know what they're talking about. So I'm assuming that this is going to be something that I'll enjoy too.
Yeah.
I really like all the character designs for this. I wasn't entirely sure about the animation though, because the animation looked, I don't know, unfinished maybe.
Uh-huh.
It looked sort of jerky, like it,
Mm-hmm.
it had a very low frame rate, maybe.
Mm.
Like, and maybe they did it that way to save money, because if you cut out half the frames, I don't know. Like, it looked like something that I could get over. If the show is good enough, I probably can get over the animation. But for the trailer, it just stood out to me how not robotic they moved, but
Mm.
like, if you see the trailer, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It looked like maybe a motion comic or something. It didn't
Mm.
look fluid.
Mm.
So I'll, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it'll be an okay show. But the animation, I feel like it could be a little bit better.
Yeah, it did look a little cheap. Fix that because Troll Hunters and Voltron have had very strong animation, I would say. So
Hmm.
hopefully they'll fix that. But I did notice that I don't know if they were just trying to make it look sort of vintage and have sort of
It
a
could be.
feel.
If
But
it's a
yeah,
stylistic choice and you can tell that when you're watching the show as a whole, then I suppose I won't mind it as much. But
yeah,
just as a first
yeah.
look at the trailer, it stood out to me.
Yeah, so that I agree with you. That is true. So thing we had is announcement at Comic-Con of Steven Universe, the movie coming to Cartoon Network. This is going to have all the major players of Steven Universe, and I'm not sure when they said
They didn't give a
they didn't give a
date.
date. Okay, yeah.
It
So
just said coming soon.
yeah, so they had the finale with our wedding that we talked about last time. And so then they're going to have this. It says, while fans anticipated a reveal of the legendary White Diamond, what they got was more expected a movie announcement. So, what do you think about this? Since you're a Steven Universe fan,
I I don't know what to think yet, because I was not expecting a movie, like, at all. That didn't even cross my mind as something they'd be working on. But apparently it's been in the works for like a couple years now, and I'm that may be part of the reason why the output of episodes has been kind of slow. Like,
uh
I don't
huh,
know, there's been like somewhere between 12 and 15 episodes in the last year. It's a very small number compared to other shows. And
right,
I'm thinking now that that's because they were working on the movie. But the teaser didn't give us a whole lot to go on. It basically showed us the main characters and then the silhouette of what I'm assuming is going to be the antagonist of the movie. So there really is not much to go on, but
yeah,
it's Steven Universe, so I'm excited. I'm wondering, the trailer made it sound like it was going to be coming directly to Cartoon Network, but if it's if Teen Titans Go has gotten a theatrical run, so I'm wondering if it does well enough at the box office, maybe they'll give Steven Universe a chance to go to the theater too. That's what I'm hoping, because I'd love a chance to go see Steven Universe in the theater.
yeah.
I'm I'm hoping it makes it there.
I could see it like as a maybe as a Fathom event
I
kind of thing,
That
like a
could be,
weekend or
yeah.
something. That would be cool. So yeah, there you go. All right, our last. Oh no, not last. So our next story is we have the Young Justice Outsiders trailer. This also premiered at Salt Lake. This also premiered at San Diego Comic Con, and yeah. So this has like teenage versions uh, of different characters from let's see here. Yeah,
Most of these
outsider
characters are sidekicks to the main
side
superheroes.
characters. Yeah. So and this is DC, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So we have Artemis, Nightwing, Superboy, Aqualad, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just getting a little overwhelmed with superhero animated things
Well, the
with
thing with
super
this show
pets.
is that this is not a new show. This is the continuation of a show that was canceled in 2012,
Oh,
and this is the third season of Young
oh,
Justice.
right.
So this was the show that was like fans were in an absolute uproar when it was canceled because it was extremely popular when it was canceled. And
Oh.
there were multiple reasons given why it was canceled. Some people said that the studios were upset that too many girls liked it because the girls weren't buying the action figures, because the show was funded by toy companies, but it was so much better than anyone expected it to be. So I don't know. They've said that that's not the reason. They didn't cancel it because too many girls liked it. But that is something that is like lots of people
Oh.
still believe. But the fact that not a lot of toys were selling was, as far as I know, was a big factor in its cancellation.
Hmm.
So it was canceled when it was popular, and it has been one of those shows that people have been clamoring for more because it was canceled on a cliffhanger. And
Oh.
that's like that's it's one of those shows that it's like I have been wanting more so long because it was legitimately one of my favorite animated series back then. And I hate it when I am so into a show and they cancel it on a cliffhanger because you
Yeah.
never find out what happens. So
Right.
this is something that has been a long time coming, and I'm so excited that it's coming back. We're finally going to find out what happens. I think the thing that saved it is that DC is trying to launch their streaming service, the DC universe.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that they chose to bring this back because they knew that this is something that many, many fans are wanting. And they think that fans are going to pay out for their streaming service because they want this show. And they're probably right. I'm thinking I
Oh, yeah.
probably
To be
will.
on the platform.
Yes, I'm thinking I'll probably get at least a month of this just so I can watch this show. Like, this is the reason that I will be getting the DC streaming service because I
Oh.
want to see this show. And I think that a lot of people are going to be doing that. I don't know if I'll keep the streaming service after that because my main reason for getting it is to watch this show.
Okay.
We'll see what their offerings
And
are.
you're
Maybe they'll
not
have more.
you're not dying to watch the live action Titans show.
No. No, I'm not.
Just kidding. So, does the original show have is it the Outsiders as well in the original show, or is that a new wrinkle to it?
The first season was Young Justice. The second season, I want to say Invasion, Young Justice Invasion. It had a subtitle. I don't remember what the
Uh-huh.
subtitle was. So they're subtitling the third season as well. It's sort of like, um, what is it? The Dragon, How to Train Your Dragon series. They had subtitled every season for a while. It's sort of like that. They're giving every season a subtitle to set it apart from the seasons that came before it, because every season has like a season long arc of stories. Like, you have like a mystery they're trying to solve going through it. So
Uh-huh.
Outsiders is what they're subtitling this third season.
Okay. Good. Interesting. Well, that sounds interesting. So, okay, last story that we were going to talk about was the exciting news out of Comic-Con that the new, or one of the new series that we are going to be getting from well, not really new, but one of the announcements from Star Wars that we got is the Clone Wars is coming back. This series aired from 2008 to 2013, and they did have a movie as well, which wasn't great. But the series was great. Has many devoted fans. I've only watched a couple episodes of that series. I have it, and I desperately need to catch up because I love Rebels, and it's just hard to catch up on so many seasons of a show. But I did really love Rebels, and so yeah, they're bringing back the Clone Wars show with director Dave Filoni, who is a phenomenal director, and they are going to let's see here, and they had a trailer, and they had with Captain Rex is on there. A war left unfinished until now. And then you saw battles, and you see Ahsoka, which is exciting. And yeah, it looks pretty good. What are your thoughts?
I am so excited for this show. This is like just as it was with Young Justice. This show was canceled for its time, and fans have been clamoring for more because they left off at such a terrible point. Like, I mean, ultimately where the series is going because you have the movies, but at least for Ahsoka's story, Ahsoka was left hanging. She walked away, and no one knew what became of her. Of course, we have her coming back in Star Wars Rebels, but as for her time between there, no one knew what happened after that point, and it seemed like we weren't ever going to get a resolution to her story, at least as far as this period of time in the Star Wars saga. So the fact that they're bringing the show back to finish out the story that they were planning on telling is really exciting. I am so excited that they're bringing the show back. This is another one where I think the thing that saved it was the streaming service. Disney is going to be launching their streaming service, and they need some flagship shows to get people to buy their service.
Yeah.
And this was a definite surefire win for them because Star Wars fans are very passionate, and Star Wars Clone Wars is one of the ones that is like a uniting thing. Like, I have not heard any fans say that they hate the Clone Wars series like they have with like The Last Jedi,
right,
and other more recent things. I think that this is one of those things that fans of all ages and stripes will be lining up to see, and I think Disney definitely made the right choice bringing it back. I have no doubt that people are going to be signing up for their streaming service just for this.
yeah.
I probably would sign up for the streaming service regardless, but this is like the icing on the cake for me. This is like the clincher. This is like this. I need this show.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only one. The reception that it got in that hall, I went after I saw the trailer, because I saw the trailer on Twitter and I didn't know what I was watching. I thought, because I knew they were doing the 10-year retrospective anniversary thing, and I saw they had this special video. I started watching. It was like, wait a minute, what does this mean? Is it coming back? And then when it said a war left unfinished until now, I was like, I thought I was going to start hyperventilating. I was so excited. I don't get like emotional or like vocally excited, but I was like screaming at my computer, what?
Yeah.
Because this took me so much by surprise. I had no idea this was happening. No one knew that this was happening. I went back and I went and found, like, I knew somebody in that auditorium was going to have been recording, and I wanted to know what the audience reaction was. And I watched it multiple times just to hear people's reaction. It was so exciting to see the people realize what was going on, because they thought they were watching a retrospective video feature, and then to hear that the show is coming back, like the people screaming, apparently people started crying. They were so excited. This is big for Star Wars fans, and I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, I was pretty excited as well, because I have not loved most of the Disney Star Wars films. I don't hate them. I'm not a hater, but I've just had problems with them. They haven't been going in directions and haven't done things that, I don't know, I just haven't loved them. And so, but I did love Rebels. And that's the kind of the way that that's been, I think, by far the best Star Wars experience I've had in recent years. And even though I haven't watched Clone Wars, I know that I'll love it. And so this was exciting for me. And it was just exciting to be excited about Star Wars again, because I feel like it's been a while. And So yeah, that was really cool, and I totally trust Dave Filoni. I think he is the best
Hmm.
voice of Star Wars at the moment, in my opinion. So this is going to be really cool.
Yeah,
So,
I'm so excited. This show is one that if you are a Star Wars fan and you haven't seen Clone Wars, you need to get on it. Catch up in time. I know
yeah,
you're going to try and do that. This
yeah.
is it's going to be something special. I'm sure of it. I'm really
Yeah. I
excited.
mean, and as far as the Disney streaming service, they take my money right now. I mean, there's
Yeah,
no question at all. So
yeah.
there we go. All right. Well, good. That is everything. We've talked about everything. We've talked about everything, right?
I think so. There was a lot to talk about.
There was a lot to talk about with San Diego Comic-Con and so many other things happening. So it's a big, busy time. So there you go. We covered what 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 topics, so that's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. So thanks so much for joining me to talk about all this anime news. Let us know in the comments section or on Twitter what you think about these various stories, what your opinions are. I would love to hear. And Jonathan, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and pretty much everywhere else at John J. North, and also my YouTube channel.
Great. I'll have that in the links in the description section. You can check that out, and make sure you're following me at Rachel's Reviews on all the social media and on iTunes and YouTube. And thanks so much, and we will talk again. We'll talk again soon. So
Yeah.